What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with part 2 of the transfer specials for today. And Ben Jacobs, by the way, he is joining us. He assures me he's in a meeting and he'll be on in around 10 or 15 minutes, people. So you're going to have to put up with me for around 10 minutes and then he should join in then. So hopefully he needs to have an exclusive for us, man. That's what I invited him for. So we'll have to see what he says. Big up to everyone for tuning in. As always, we had great numbers on the first stream this morning. And really appreciate everyone liking the video. We got well over 1,000 likes on that straight away. And over 2,000 likes on yesterday. Hold on. What am I doing here? The green screen's got to be changed. Why am I... It's got to be Shaw Sports News Takeover. There we go. There we go. Deadline day. Are Arsenal going to get their business done? And there is a lot happening at the moment in terms of the transfer window. So just as we're live, something is actually happening right now. And Ornstein has tweeted, so let me get it up, people. Breaking news. Arsenal have made a second offer, people. Let me go live. Let me get this up on the screen. 2 minutes ago, I believe, David Ornstein has tweeted, Arsenal are going back in with a second offer for Aston Villa midfielder Douglas Luiz. The opening Arsenal approach for the Brazilian international was unsuccessful, but they aren't giving up. Aston Villa insists the 24-year-old will not be leaving. The player is believed to be keen on the move. Now, what I will say for Arsenal is this deal is so public that they really need to get the deal done. Because if you let everybody know that you're making offers for this guy and you don't get him, people are going to say, well, what did you waste all day for? Surely, in my opinion, if Arsenal are making the second offer, then surely they must have an inkling from Villa that this deal will be done if they get to a certain price. Aston Villa, apparently the first offer was £20 million with £5 million in add-ons. That deal was rejected. A lot of reports saying that 30 million is what Aston Villa are looking for, probably 25 million with 5 million in add-ons. So, it just doesn't make sense to me. Everything's saying that the player is keen on the move. Steven Gerrard was saying yesterday he can't guarantee he will stay. It sounded as if he would go if the right amount of money was paid. We know that Dendoncker from Wolves, he's having his medical at the moment at Aston Villa. Defensive midfielder, £13 million deal agreed. He looks as if he's going to be the replacement for Douglas Luiz. So the first offer, 20 million plus 5, was rejected. This offer, I would imagine, is 25 plus 5, which should get us to the 30 million. Which you would expect to get the deal done, if I'm being honest. If they reject this deal, then I think we're not getting it. Like, there's no chance we're getting him. So we'll have to see. We will have to see on that one. But it's definitely a progressing story. All I will say, people, is if we don't get this deal done and we don't get a midfielder in, I think this is a terrible end to the window. We haven't signed a player since July when we signed Zinchenko. Arsenal clearly need reinforcements. You can see already the squad's getting a little bit thinner, a few injuries, and Douglas Luiz for me would be a very good signing. 24 years of age. He was at Manchester City with Mikel Arteta for a short period of time. He was unable to get a permanent stay with the work permit, so they were unable to keep him. Sounds as if he wants to join the club. It's just a case of agreeing a deal with Aston Villa. Villa are saying out in public that they do not want to sell him and they are willing to keep him even if he runs down his contract, which would be a disaster. I've got to be honest, Aston Villa were in the Championship a few years ago. They're probably not, I can't imagine them allowing a player that's worth 25 to 30 million pounds just running down his contract. He was on the bench last night against Arsenal. Obviously, he scored directly from a corner. And I think he would be a good addition. But again, as somebody said there, reactive rather than proactive. why did we not have a plan in place? As I said on the earlier stream, I have a genuine belief that Arsenal were not going to sign a midfielder in this transfer window, which I think is absolutely unbelievable. Ish says the mystery winger remained a mystery. Yeah, exactly. Remember Fabrizio, there's a mystery winger. Listen, to be fair to him, without me hammering Fabrizio for saying that, I think that Arsenal were going to sign a winger. Or they at least attempted to sign a winger. And I just don't think once the midfielders were out, they decided it was one or the other because of the financial issues. So there you go, people. Arsenal have gone back in with a second offer for Douglas Luiz. Be interesting to find out how much that is. The opening approach was unsuccessful. So let's get the deal done, people. Simple as that. Stop messing about. Get the deal done. And let's bring him to the carpet. A few people talking about Yuri Tielemans. So let's see what the latest is on Yuri Tielemans. No, it's not showing up. People saying Tielemans has been left out of the squad for tonight. I'm just trying to see if I can see that. With Yuri. Penalty save, Tielemans. No, I can't see it yet. I'm sure we'll find out shortly. Just moving on, actually, there's another one here. Another story here regarding the Douglas Luiz offer that we can get a little bit more information about. And that is from Sammy Mockbell. Sammy Mockbell says, Arsenal are working on a second offer for Douglas Luiz after the original £20 million bid was turned down by Villa. Sources indicate it will be worth in the region of £23 million. Villa are determined to keep Luiz. Now, I have to say with this one, right? Apparently they want £30 million for him. 25 plus 5, that's it. Deal done, you would imagine. Arsenal have offered apparently 23. It doesn't say if the add-ons are 7 million or 5 million, but they've got to get the deal done now, people. They have to. You've made it so public. Every Arsenal fan knows that you want him. Imagine if we've offered 23 million plus 5 and they go, well, no, that's 28. We wanted 30. What are you playing at? Don't let £2 million be the difference between getting him or not. I think at the start of the day, a lot of people would have been like, Douglas Luiz, not a bad signing, not the most exciting, but a little bit exciting. Now, you've got to get it done. If we don't get him done, Danilo over there in Brazil, Palmeiras saying they don't want to sell him. They want the release clause, 75 million, not going to happen. Tielemans, we don't know what's going on with that situation. Arsenal have to get this player signed. Otherwise, they look pretty stupid that everyone knows you've made offers and you haven't got the deal done. So it's just so frustrating sometimes being an Arsenal fan. I know this is business. I know we're talking about millions of pounds. But if you want him, give them 30 million, get the deal done, unveil him, and we move. Job done. Why all this back and forth and maybe he's going to cost you 25 million and you've offered 23. What is the point? 20 million and a pound settings. Bad Bar, thank you very much for the super chat. He said, Douglas Luiz wants a move, says Fab. Better than getting a player who doesn't want to play for us. 100%. And listen, make no mistake about it. Douglas Luiz improves Arsenal's squad. In terms of the team, we're not sure yet. What position is he going to play? Is a 6? Do you play him next to Thomas Partey? But we know they love Granit Xhaka. But it gives us depth. It gives us competition. That's what we need. European football. We need more strength in depth in this squad. So, listen, I want this deal done. If we sign him, I'll be happy. If we don't sign him, if we don't sign anyone, I will be furious. I can't lie, people, because, the guy's waiting and we need a new midfielder desperately. It's clear to see. And Ben's just messaged actually saying he can't come on till 4 o'clock. So he's in a meeting still. So we'll have to wait for him. But no worries. I'll handle it from here, people. Don't worry about that. But big up Bad Bath. Darren said, Luiz improves the team better than Xhaka, El Neni and Lokonga. 100%. 100%. Snake Eye said, someone please call 911. Wycliffe Jean business, people. Wycliffe Jean business. Oh, dear me. Let's move on from this one anyway. Arsenal offering 23 mil when they want 25 plus 5. So, I don't get it, but it is what it is. 2 more players would have been ideal. Fabrizio has tweeted around 13 minutes ago. He said, the potential agreement between Douglas Luiz and Arsenal on personal terms would be on a 5-year deal. It's ready on the players' side, but not yet between the clubs. Aston Villa insists they don't want to sell Douglas, but the player is pushing. Honestly, I'm going to be totally honest. I expect this deal to get done, because why are they negotiating with the player? Why are they making multiple offers for a player if there's no belief that this deal can get done? It wouldn't make any sense in the world. Surely you would say, listen, we've spoke to Villa. There's no chance this deal happens. Go and get somebody else. There must be people from Villa saying, listen, don't really want to sell him, but if you get to 30 million, we'll allow the deal to happen. So it's an interesting one. And as I said, Arsenal, you've got to get this deal done. Don't leave us empty-handed here. I genuinely believe if Arsenal don't sign anybody today, that could be the difference between top 4 and not getting top 4, or at least getting us to January when we can maybe go again. Ryan said, a Polymation, big up, bro. He said he didn't celebrate when he scored against us. A lot of people were saying that. He just seemed to turn around when the ball went in. Maybe he couldn't believe that it went in. Or maybe he knows that he's on his way to Arsenal. You saw the little conversation with him and Gabriel Jesus after the game, covering their mouths, probably saying, you know what, bro, I'll see you tomorrow. But we'll have to see. Bad Barth said, Villa have signed 2 6s in this window. Surely he's not a no-sell. I agree with you. They signed Kamara at the start of the window. They got him on a free, but he was a big coup. A lot of clubs were linked with him. And obviously, they're just signing Dendoncker, who plays in the same position. You know, if they're keeping Douglas Luiz, why would they need 3 number 6s in midfield? Listen, I think Villa are just waiting for Arsenal to get to a certain figure. The deal will then happen. The problem that Arsenal have got, we know that Atletico Madrid are interested. There's been rumours of other clubs being interested. What you don't want to do is start fiddling around, 23 million, 23.5. Next minute, you know, another club comes in for him, and all of a sudden we're left looking pretty stupid. So stop messing about. Get the deal done and bring him to the carpet. Simple as that. Stop messing about and make the deal happen, because other clubs will take him. Other clubs need midfielders, and we need to be careful. So let's hope we do get this deal done sooner rather than later. Interesting in terms of other clubs being linked with him. There are rumours that despite Liverpool signing Arthur, that they have actually been interested in him as well. So we got to be careful. This is what I'm saying. A lot of other clubs will think, you know what, for 20 odd million, that he wouldn't be bad as well. Sky Sports saying that Liverpool, in fact, let me show you the tweet. Let me share the tweet so we can see it. But yeah, Liverpool showing a bit of interest in him as well. Fitz said, we all knew Partey is injury prone. We all know Saka is being overplayed, and we all know Eddie is not a good enough backup. Our business should have been done ages ago. Amateur settings, big up the legend, Fitz, no messing around. Listen, he speaks a lot of truth, people. Let's be honest. If Gabriel Jesus gets injured, do you trust Eddie and Nketiah for a long period? No, I don't. And these deals should have been done. Why did the club not want to buy a midfielder? We needed a midfielder in January, when we should have signed Bruno Guimaraes, and we didn't. And then we got to the summer and still didn't buy a midfielder. Made no sense. Jamrock Gunners, big up, bro, said, bless up, Curtis. I think they're conserving funds on Luiz deal and still try and get a winger later. Listen, I hope you're right, but I don't see that happening. But listen, I would love that to happen. Alex said City would be entitled to 20% of any profit Villa make on Luiz, so 20% of anything above 15 they sold him for, roughly. Interesting. J. Rob said, I'm ripping my kit like Big C if we don't sign someone, not my Jamaica one. Nah, the Jamaica one can never get ripped, But yeah, I agree with you, people. The club have to react. We're in a strong position. Don't sit there all the time and think, we're in a good position, so we don't need to strengthen. It's the best time to strengthen. Don't strengthen when you're desperate. Strengthen when you're in a good position. That's when things work out for the better people. Anyway, couple of other bits and bobs. Obviously, Ben will be on in around 10-15 minutes, so we'll question him on this as well. Dave Ockop said, Liverpool are still interested in Douglas Luiz. However, Arsenal seem to have the upper hand in the race to sign the player after he had a conversation with none other than Edu Gaspar. If you need a Brazilian, call Edu. If there's something strange in your neighborhood, you want to sign Brazilians, call Edu. Yo, I'm telling you, Edu's the man. You need a Brazilian, call Edu. He'll get the deal done. Anyone from outside of Brazil, it gets a little techie for Edu. I don't know, but certainly the king when it comes to signing Brazilians. Any chance of getting Neymar or somebody in, we wouldn't mind that one. Bad Barth, appreciate it again, bro. Said, if Fabio Vieira is worth 30 million, I'd gladly take Luiz for around the same price, surely. Listen, when a player, first of all, Brazilian international, plays in the Prem, all of these factors will make the transfer more expensive, and Aston Villa don't want to lose the player, so they're not just going to hand him over. I think 30 million in this market is decent business, and I think he improves this team and this squad, and I think you've got genuine competition for Thomas Partey, because when Partey gets injured, we're a mess, let's be honest. We got away with it last night. We wouldn't get away with that against some of the bigger teams, so you have to bring in quality and strengthen. Oh, he's singing again. Listen, man, straight vibes over here, people. It's hard for me not to. Edu Gaspar. Listen, let's hope he hasn't run out of gas so far, people. But Liverpool are still looking at Douglas Luiz, so we definitely have to be careful when it comes to that. Today's video, people, is sponsored by footballprizes.co.uk. Win yourself 2 hospitality tickets to Arsenal against PSV Eindhoven, which is next week at the Emirates. Tickets are £4.95. And obviously a great prize, 2 hospitality seats at club level. You do have to be in the UK or the Republic of Ireland to take part. Link is in the description. Big up to them for supporting the channel. And listen, if you're in the UK or Ireland, you want to try and win a great prize, get yourself over there. The website link is in the description below, people. Should be a good game, actually. And looks as if Gakpo is still going to be their player come next week. Apparently PSV refusing to sell him now. So looks as if he will be featuring against Arsenal next week. Let's hope he's not on form. Lots going off at Arsenal, though. It's just a pity we're not signing players at the moment. Hector Bellerin. I mean, listen. Whoever Hector Bellerin's agent is, you are a miracle worker, because he is genuinely getting an unbelievable move by going back to Barcelona. Hector Bellerin's move to Barcelona on a free transfer is already imminent. A 1-year contract with the review of renewing it if the parties want it. Arsenal hold a 25% future clause and also a performance-based clause. So Hector Bellerin's contract is going to be cancelled. He's going to join Barcelona. 1-year deal with a 1-year option. 25% sell-on clause. So, listen, the hope will be he goes to Barcelona, does well, and somebody signs him. I don't know who's going to sign him. But that's an unbelievable move for Bellerin. It's 100 grand a week off the wage bill. And, yeah, listen, it's one of them. It's one of them for me. I just think the club need to move him on. He hasn't been good enough for a considerable amount of time, really. And for me, it's good to get him off the wage bill. I've got to be honest. So, yeah, for me, Hector Bellerin, he's been at the club for a long time. He's not the guy that he was maybe 5 years ago when people were saying this could be one of the best right-backs in the league. He's massively been overtaken by a number of right-backs in the league. And, yeah, we definitely need more. That is for sure. So, I think at the moment, with him going, Ainsley Maitland-Niles left, the wage bill has significantly been reduced. There should definitely be a way for Arsenal to bring players in. That is for sure. So we'll have to see on that one anyway. But yeah, Hector Bellerin on his way to Barcelona. I'm telling you, his agent is an absolute magician. Getting him a move to Barcelona. I have no idea how that has happened. But he's been at the club for a long time. And and looks as if he's going to be in a Barcelona shirt. Dest obviously left yesterday, and he's going to replace him at right back in Barcelona. The interesting thing here, people, I see a lot of you been putting it in the comments while we're speaking about Barcelona. Memphis Depay of Barcelona has apparently received an offer from an unknown Premier League club, and he's asked Barcelona to leave. And again, they're just throwing Arsenal's name in the mix. Is it Arsenal? I'm not sure. I've said before, on a free, I would actually take him because he does have quality. He is on a big wage, but a free agent in this market, if you could get Memphis Depay, wouldn't be a bad move for me. So Memphis Depay has received an official offer from a Premier League club and has asked to let Barcelona let him leave. Now, some people, I was looking through the report, there was a little breakdown there. Apologies, tickets are $9.95. I thought they were $4.95. Sorry about that. $9.95 if you want to get involved. A little bit more, so apologies on that one. But with Aubameyang going to Chelsea, do they need Memphis Depay as well? Could be Manchester United, in my opinion. Some people saying Newcastle, some people saying West Ham. But looks as if he could be on his way back to the Premier League. Would you take Memphis Depay on a free transfer? I got to be honest, I would take him on a free. Not saying at all that it is Arsenal, but on a free transfer, I would take him. I'm not going to lie. Babatunde, big up to you, bro. He said, big up, Big C. I'm trying to understand why a manager will deliberately make things difficult for himself, if not for anything. The consequence of January should be a wake-up call for Mikel. Mikel Arteta should be going to this board and saying, listen, ultimately, last January cost us the Champions League. I don't care what anyone says, right? If you bring in Bruno Gomes or a suitable midfielder when we were short, and if you get a goal scorer in, I think Arsenal make top four last year. Again, we're in a fantastic position. The problem is sometimes when you're doing really well, it hypes everybody up that, oh, maybe, you know what, we don't need to buy anyone because El Neni came in and we beat Fulham and he looked good. And, oh, Sambi came in and he had a really good game. So guess what? We don't need to sign anyone. And sometimes that's the feeling at football clubs when you make a good start, to the season, that clubs think that they're in a better position than they are. And that's the worry for me. Are Arsenal thinking because they've won a few games, everything's rosy in the garden, we don't desperately need to sign anyone? Oh, Zinchenko can play midfield. Fabio Vieira hasn't played yet. Maybe he can play on the right. We don't need to sign a winger. They start trying to find shortcuts when in reality, you just need to make sure that your club is ready to be in the right position and the right, space to move forward. So, yeah, I agree. Mikel Arteta should be pleading with the club to get him a midfielder. And I would also be desperately trying to get a winger, although I don't think a winger will come in this window, if I'm being honest. But the Memphis Depay links are interesting. Maybe we'll ask Ben when he comes on shortly who he thinks that is. I know a lot of people were saying Chelsea, but with Aubameyang, would they sign another striker? This guy, thank you for the super chat. Would you take Ross Barkley on a free? No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would now. As I said, and I spoke about it the other day, Ross Barkley, a number of years ago, I saw Everton play against Arsenal at the Emirates, and I thought he was one of the best English young midfielders that I'd seen for a long, long time. So much talent and ability, but just hasn't happened. No, but I wouldn't take Ross Barkley at Arsenal. But listen, don't get me wrong, he's probably still better than a couple of the midfielders that we've got, if I'm being totally honest. So, unbelievable numbers, by the way. 4,300 of you in the chat. Absolutely incredible. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget, if you want to get involved in the footballprizes.co.uk offer, the link is in the description below. Apologies for earlier. It's $9.95. You can win 2 hospitality tickets for Arsenal against PSV next week at the Emirates Stadium. And the link is in the description below, people. Great prizes. And if you want to get involved, then get involved in that one. But listen, things developing all the time here. Another tweet from Sammy Mockbell, who's saying here, he tweeted, 3 minutes ago? He said, it's pretty clear that Douglas Luiz wants the move. Arsenal wouldn't go to these lengths if they weren't sure about that. If and when Villa accept a fee, the deal will move quickly. Personal terms won't be a problem. And this is what I'm saying. Arsenal must have been told by Villa, when you get Dendoncker in at Villa, and when Villa get an offer from Arsenal that is where they need him to be, then I think they'll let the deal happen. I think at the moment, it's just a case of being patient. What I don't want is Arsenal to put all their eggs into this basket, and for whatever reason you don't get the deal done and we're in an absolute mess. And it's been public that everybody knows that we're trying to get this deal done, so let's hope this deal is done. It sounds promising, but at the moment there's no indication from Aston Villa that they are willing to sell him. So that's the position we need to sort out. A man said Knowles Barkley in the chat, better than Ross Barkley. Denny said, big up Curtis, great content as always, give me some good news. I'm trying. I'm hoping Douglas Luiz. I want us to get Douglas Luiz done early in the day, so this evening, maybe they'll start throwing rumours out there for wingers and we can get a little bit excited, but at the moment we haven't got them rumours. So Nicky Thompson said, one love to the C Unit, big up all of the C Unit, C Unit, 45 of you on Twitch and 4,500 of you tuned in on YouTube. Absolutely incredible support, amazing numbers. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and keep pushing, road to 100k. Evan said, thanks for taking the time to take pics in Orlando with us. It meant a lot to my family, and I hope to see you again soon. Come on, you Gunners. Big up, bro. Listen, it's nothing, We're a community here, people, so big up yourself. Pleasure to meet you over there. Zamir said, does anyone know when Partey is back? I did see a report now that they're saying Partey could be back for next week in the Europa League, which was strange because the initial reports were saying that he wouldn't be back till after the international break. They're now saying he could be back for next week. Even if he was available for next week, there's no way that there's no way on earth he should be playing a Europa League game anyway. So I don't think that really is any indication. But he's going to miss the Manchester United game. Could Douglas Luiz be making his debut at Old Trafford up against Casemiro, Benjamin said we get Diaz sorted by 9 p.m. I think about Luiz, but I know what you mean. Then watchers race to get Zaha. Listen, I'm telling you, man, get this deal done early and then give us a little bit of excitement for later on, surely, people. Will we get Luiz done at 10:59? The window closes tonight, 11 p.m. UK time. Graham said, Curtis, there must be someone that isn't playing for one of the bigger teams in Europe. Surely we can make a season-long loan offer for a player to save spending a transfer fee. It's interesting, isn't it? When we tried to sign Arthur from Juventus, they wanted a 2-year loan and an obligation to buy him. And he goes to Liverpool on loan with no option, 1 year, no nothing, nice and easy. So it's interesting. It is interesting. Polymation, Tielemans must be sweating bullets. The brother's sold his house. The brother's living in a hotel, and still Arsenal don't want to sign him. What more does he have to do? He dropped a stinker against us, so we beat them. It is what it is. Luca said, get Edu out now. Edu isn't the answer. Douglas Luiz is rubbish. He's not the answer. He really isn't. What does he offer? Oh, wow. I get the impression, Luca, I don't know why, but you don't seem like the biggest fan of Edu or Douglas Luiz. Listen, just to break it down. Listen, Douglas Luiz is not a world beater of a signing, but he's a good signing. He's good. He's 24. He's Premier League proven. He's a Brazilian international. Physical presence. You saw last night that he can cross the ball as well. We found out the hard way, that is for sure. But listen, he does have qualities. If you're taking Thomas Partey out the team, who would you rather's coming in? El Neni or Douglas Luiz? It's a no-brainer. who we would rather bring in. So yeah, listen, I wouldn't get too disappointed about Douglas Luiz. I think you have to understand the position we're in and what we need to add at the moment. He's a number 6. He's Premier League proven, and listen, I think he adds to the squad at the moment. Maybe not the world beater that we were hoping for, but listen, Douglas Luiz, we haven't even got that deal done yet, so I'm not even getting excited about that one. Depay favourites to sign with Chelsea, according to Sky Bet. They're looking to clear out Barcelona with Depay and Aubameyang today by the look of it. Memphis Depay apparently available on a free transfer. Would you take Memphis Depay at your club? Apparently, he's had an offer from a mystery Premier League club and he's asked Barcelona to let him leave. There were rumours that Arsenal were one of the clubs, but do we really believe that? I don't know. Breaking news, Marcelo on the verge of signing for Leicester. Now, I did see that earlier, but then I saw another report saying that this deal won't be happening. 37 minutes ago, it said Leicester will not be signing him. Simon Stoney has been informed the reports of Marcelo heading to Leicester are now wide of the mark, despite reports coming out of Spain that the 5-time Champions League winner was on his way to Leicester. So I think the craziest transfer of the window, Marcelo potentially going to Leicester, has collapsed, people. It sounds like there were some sort of talks, but that one doesn't look like it's going to happen. It would have been a big deal, that is for sure. Who would you sign from? Nah, no Prison FC signings, bro. Nicholas, none of them. Why don't Arsenal sign Depay, says Luca. He approves of Depay. Big up Luca, though, man. Appreciate it. Your input. Bella into Barca, free transfer. Yeah, unbelievable move for him. John said Douglas Luiz or Tielemans. Oh, that's an interesting one because, see, the thing is, I think Tielemans as the ball player would be good next to Thomas Partey. Douglas Luiz gives us depth for Thomas Partey. Because Partey's injured right now, we probably need Luiz more. But, like, do you know what? I'm on what people are saying here. If you can get Douglas Luiz for 25 mil and Yuri Tielemans for 25 mil, for me, big clubs sign both of them. So I'm going to be greedy, people. Big clubs buy both of them for 50 million. Simple as that. You get rid of El Neni and you take both of them. But yeah, I would have took both. I think right now we need Luiz more because of Partey's injuries. Probably earlier in the season or in pre-season, we probably could have done with Tielemans more, in my opinion. Jermaine said Luiz is more needed. People need to get over the Xhaka bias. He's playing out of his skin. You know what it is, Jermaine? I totally agree with you. He is playing out of his skin. I think the problem you've got, I think when you're judging a footballer, you've got to judge them based off evidence. The evidence suggests that Granit Xhaka doesn't keep this up over a season. This is his 6th season at the club. Last season was probably his best season at the club, Granit Xhaka. But this season, he's been very good. You always got that belief with Granit Xhaka that it's going to blow up. I always say he's a ticking time bomb. The red card, giving away a penalty, giving the ball away, doing something stupid feels like it's always round the corner with Granit Xhaka. So that's why I think people are still like, me personally, I'm still like, you know what? Granit, you're playing great. But can we rely on you for a season? Can you play like that away from Manchester, at Manchester City, away at Liverpool? These are the big question marks that I'll always have over Granit Xhaka, unfortunately. But listen, there's no doubt he's playing probably his best football of his career at Arsenal at the moment. For those asking in the comments, don't worry, Ben is on his way. He did say that it would be half an hour. That was 24 minutes ago. So hopefully in about 5-6 minutes, we'll get him on. And I'm going to question him on some of these signings, not just Arsenal as well. We'll be speaking to him about other deals that are happening at the moment. Of course, Hector Bellerin is the deal that looks as if it's going to be done. in terms of Arsenal. First deal of the day. We were all hoping it would be a transfer in, but it looks like it'll be a transfer out. Hector Bellerin on his way to Barcelona. I mean, how has he got that move? Unbelievable. It's probably Photoshop, but Hecky B looking like Fidel Castro. On his way to his boyhood club, Barcelona. He must have been thinking, after all them years, remember when Barcelona were linked with him from Arsenal? They were talking about £45 million to get him to Barcelona. We never sold him. And a few years later, here we are terminating his contract, letting him go back there. But listen, what I will say about Hector Bellerin, he's been at the club for a long time. He left Barcelona as a young player. Not easy to come to a different country. We know that he lived with Mikel Arteta for a short period of time. And listen, let's be honest, he was one of the brightest young right-backs in Europe at one stage. He was being linked with a move to Barcelona for big money. And, he's now gone back to Barcelona. He clearly hasn't been the player since the injury and maybe concentrating on other things at Arsenal, and it just hasn't happened for him. So, listen, good luck to him. Good luck to him. And I agree with you. People saying he needs to move on. We don't need to have a problem with him, but it's time for him to go. Samir said, I don't think we're gonna see El Neni again. I mean, it'll be interesting. They're saying now it could be a long-term injury. Simfaway said, Barca owe us a favour. Listen, Barca, what more do you want from us, right? What more do you want? We gave you Aubameyang for nothing. You've now sold him and got money for him. And we gave you Hector Bellerin for free. We've absolutely niced them up twice. And, you owe us something. Give us somebody on the cheap as a little payback for everything we've done for you. They definitely owe us something. That is for sure, people. So, Hector Bellerin on his way to Barcelona. Unbelievable that he's got that move. I thought his career was going downhill at this point, but he's going to be in the Champions League playing for his boyhood club, Barcelona. So, listen, fair play to him. Incredible move. And he is on his way back to Barcelona. Another player that is on the move, people. Another player that is on the move, of course, is man like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, people. We spoke about it earlier. I'm not going to speak about it for too long. But this deal is happening. Aubameyang, 14 million euros. 14 million euros plus Alonso to join Chelsea. Unbelievable bit of business for Barcelona. A player that 6 months ago they got for absolutely nothing. They're now selling him for 14 million euros, around 10 million pounds, plus Marcus Alonso, which is great business for them. Going to be interesting. I know a lot of people were saying earlier, how do you feel about him going to Chelsea? Listen, I don't think he's the player that he was when Arsenal signed him, that is for sure. But I'm certainly not happy that Chelsea have signed him. They're desperate for a goal scorer, and I would have loved them to have been left high and dry with Kai Havertz up front for the full season. I think Aubameyang can score goals, playing through the middle, getting service off the likes of Raheem Sterling. And listen, it's going to be interesting, the reception that he gets when he comes back to the Emirates in a Chelsea shirt. Obviously, he played for Thomas Tuchel at Borussia Dortmund. And it's going to be interesting. Interesting game, that is for sure. Alex said, Big C, you can see this season Xhaka is doing great because his role has been switched and he hasn't been in the box. We have to cheer him up. Listen, he looks much better in that role going forward. And it suits him in that Gundogan role. Can he keep it up? That is the question. Ozzy Guna said, Curtis, I don't understand our club. Even after our injuries to Partey and El Neni, we push out Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Pepe, and we are playing games on deadline day. You know what? You made a fantastic point there. Realistically, if Arsenal don't sign a winger and don't sign a midfielder, you're going to say, why have you let Ainsley and Pepe go when we're short in those areas? We have to get a midfielder in today, and I'm hoping we get a winger, but definitely I think it's more hope than expectation with the winger coming in. But Oba in the blue, got to admit, don't like it. Don't like that picture at all. And but listen, let's hope he doesn't make a major difference. Chelsea have started the season a bit slow. But Aubameyang on his way to Chelsea, 14 million euros, 10 million pounds, plus Marcus Alonso, people. So a lot of movement, And listen, you have to say, Oba's, his house got broken into. The moment that happened, he was going to leave. It's as simple as that. So there's not a lot we can do about that. And let's see what happens. Let's hope he struggles at Chelsea. That is for sure. Be interesting the reception he gets when they play against Arsenal. 5,000 of you in the chat. Absolutely incredible support. Make sure you like the video and subscribe as well. We are waiting for Ben Jacobs. He should be here shortly. I'm just kind of going through all the latest news before we get him in. And then I'll question him on, obviously, the latest goings off with Douglas Luiz. We'll speak about other clubs as well and see what he's got to say. 5,100 of you in the chat. Absolutely unbelievable numbers. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, people. I'm sure there's, maybe 300-400 of you, maybe a couple of thousand of you that haven't subscribed to the channel. We're here daily. We will be back tonight as well. So keep it locked, people. You don't need Sky Sports today. That is for sure. Ainsley Maitland-Niles has left the club. He's completed his move to Southampton. The medical is done. The contracts are to be signed. New deal until June 2024 with Arsenal. Then a loan to Southampton with an option to buy. It looks as if Ainsley Maitland-Niles, he probably won't play another game for Arsenal unless he has a really bad loan spell. He went on loan to West Brom. Was never a good move. Got relegated. And he went to Roma. Didn't perform really. Jose Mourinho said he wasn't quite up to it over there. And surely, I think Southampton is a good move for him. I have to admit, I like Ainsley. Met him a few times. Got character. Fofty, as they called him. He's been a little bit unlucky at Arsenal. But he needs to go and play first-team football. Southampton is a good club for young British players to go and develop. And listen, I hope he does well, because what we don't want to be is in a position where in 12 months' time, he ends up back at Arsenal and we're struggling to move him on again. So we'll have to see. Cameron said, people in the chat, Yuri isn't a DM, Luiz is. Exactly. So, we can talk about which player is better. I think now it's more a case of what player do we need more. And I think Douglas Luiz is the player that Arsenal need more at the moment. AJ, thank you for the super chat. Need Luiz for sure. Neto is a no-go. They won't sell. It was always going to be difficult with Neto because he signed a new contract last season for 5 years. So they don't need to sell him, Wolves. That is the problem. Snake Eye said, I have no problem with Aubameyang. This is the norm today. He was a good servant for us. I thank him for his services. Aubameyang, I hope you get relegated. Thai settings, man. Listen, he was pushed out the door. Yeah, he was misbehaving, but he would still be at Arsenal now if it was up to him, I believe. And listen, Giroud went to Chelsea and was applauded back at the Emirates. George G said, Curtis, if you actually take the baggage away, Xhaka is a very decent player. He's always fit and available too. George, listen, Granit Xhaka, if we're having an open and honest conversation, right? Granit Xhaka's always been a good footballer. The problem is he makes too many mistakes. Top midfielders don't make those kind of mistakes as often as him. Multiple yellow cards, multiple reds, multiple mistakes leading to goals. That is the problem with Granit Xhaka. Does Kevin De Bruyne get sent off on a regular basis? Does Fabinho? Does Rodri? These top midfielders do not make as many mistakes as Granit Xhaka. And that is the biggest problem. He's always been a steady player, but the mistakes tarnish anything else that we do. So, the mistakes can't be ignored is what I'm kind of saying. Wasim said, Granit Xhaka appreciation post. Evan said, Troops is mad as hell. Obama who? Yeah, wasn't he saying that Oba told him he wasn't going to Chelsea? And the brother is going to be holding up that shirt. But listen, doesn't matter. Maybe 2 weeks ago he wasn't going to Chelsea. Someone breaks into your to your house and assaults him, and next minute, you know, Chelsea probably looks a lot more appealing to him. So, yeah, it is what it is. You can't really hate on him for making the move, you know. Kiki Marin has tweeted, Arsenal will save €9 million in annual wages through Hector Bellerin's move to Barcelona on a free transfer. The player has accepted a reduced salary on a 1-year deal. So Arsenal have managed to save a decent amount of wages on Hecky B, which is great. But listen, I'm not about to start celebrating saved wages. Get players in. We did the same thing last January. Oh, we've got rid of all these players and saved wages. But there's no players through the door. I want to see a new signing. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I think 60, 70,000 a week he was on at Arsenal. Hector Bellerin, 100 grand a week. Nicolas Pepe, 130 grand a week. You know, over $250,000 saved in wages this window. And in the last week or two, put that back out and get a player in. Douglas Luiz only earns £32,000 a week. You know, you probably get him for £70,000 a week. So this should be no problem for Arsenal to bring a decent player in. So saved wages, well done. But we need to sign players, and that's what I'm waiting for. That is what I'm waiting for. Big up everyone in the chat. Absolutely brilliant support. 5,200 of you in the chat. Unbelievable numbers. We're all hoping for signings. And as I said, Ben Jacobs is on his way. He should be here now, really. He did say half an hour. So he's moving in Granit Xhaka mode, people. Maybe he's adopted Granit Xhaka mode as well. But he's on his way, and we will question him on all things Arsenal, and obviously, and we'll talk about some of the other moves as well. Arsenal trying to throw this one out to hype us all up. It's like a new signing, everyone. It's like a new signing. Arsenal are confident that Bukayo Saka will sign a new long-term contract to Arsenal. The club have offered the 20-year-old winger, whose present contract runs until 2024, a significant increase on his £70,000 a week contract. I mean, yeah, great, but, you know, not going to excite me that much right now. He's already at the club. Apparently, Arsenal have offered him 140 grand a week, so double your money on Saka. But listen, he needs to improve the performances, you know, let's be honest. Hasn't played great this season so far, but listen, it is important. Saliba, Saka, new deals needed. But again, that's not going to get us overly excited at the moment. We want to see new players. I want to see players that I've never seen playing for Arsenal holding up the shirt. That's what it's all about. So it looks like Saka's going to sign a new deal. But again, we're just waiting for that one to be announced. Gooner8 said, YouTube GOAT. Fresh Prince says 5K watching. Big up Curtis. What a community. Really appreciate all of you tuning in. Dig27 said, go Gunners all the way from the US. Curtis is such a tough fan to please. I am, honestly. Sometimes I think to myself, are my standards too high? But I don't think they are. I think it's been obvious for over a year that we've needed a new centre midfielder, maybe longer. So when we're scrambling around with, 6-7 hours to go, I don't like that, because I don't think big clubs should operate like that, you know. I think it was clear to most Arsenal fans that we needed a new midfielder. So I don't like seeing panic. I like things to be done in due course and well planned. So yeah, that would be my question. Charles Watt saying that Bellerin is having his medical. Listen, we don't care about that right now. Sky confirming now that Arsenal have made an improved offer for Douglas Luiz. All we're waiting now is, has this offer been accepted or not? That's the only thing. Everybody knows that we've made an offer. Sky are saying it's 25 million rather than 23 million that was being reported earlier. All we're waiting to find out now, has this deal for Douglas Luiz been accepted or not? We have made another offer of £25 million, and we're just literally waiting to see if this offer is going to be accepted or not. Clearly, the fact that Aston Villa have not rejected it straight away would suggest that, you know, they're in discussions about taking it. Dendonka's having his medical. I think this deal will happen. I really hope, because if we don't, it's a problem. Arsenal are set to make a new and improved offer worth 25 million to Aston Villa for midfielder Douglas Luiz in the next few moments. A lot of people saying the offer has already been made. But of course, as yet, it hasn't been completed. So until it happens, but of course, we'll keep you right up to date. We haven't been told or read anywhere yet. Have Aston Villa accepted this offer or not? That's the only thing. If Villa reject this offer, then it's a big problem, because what's the issue? Are we falling short? Are we falling short in terms of the asking price, or are they just genuinely not willing to sell him? Miguel Delaney. Oh, we've got more here. We've got more Miguel Delaney. Miguel, is this guy making this up as he goes along? I'm going to bring it up anyway. I mean, this would not be good news if this is true. This is the guy that tried to say Arsenal were chasing Zaha, and then everybody said, he's just making it up to get attention. But Miguel Delaney is saying Villa want double the fee for Luiz, so £40 million. Now, I don't know how to even take that. I mean, Miguel Delaney is the chief football writer for The Independent, nearly 200,000 followers. I mean, I don't believe that. I'm sorry. I can't see. And if this is the case, listen, he could be chatting rubbish, right? He could be chatting nonsense, and Villa, I don't see how Villa could expect to get £40 million for a guy with a year left on his deal. But surely that's not true. Kyle said, Luiz and Mudryk 10-10 window. Don't see them both coming in, if I'm honest. Matthew said, Hussam Awar, interesting that we haven't been linked with him this window. 40 million. If they want £40 million for Douglas Luiz and we're offering 20 and 25 million, I'm sorry, that's not true. It's not true in my opinion. There's no way, if Villa are saying we want 40 million, that Arsenal, after offering 20, are coming back with a second offer of 25. Surely they would have just walked away from that deal and said, we can't do it. They want too much money for him. So I'm hoping that's pure cap from Miguel Delaney. Lewis said, Curtis, even though Aubameyang has signed for Chelsea, he will be out for 6 weeks with a broken jaw. Is it 6 weeks? That's crazy. So he'll be out for a while. RSPB Gaming, I told you before, Curtis, we ain't signing no one. Keep the faith, people. That's all we got right now. You got to keep the faith and hope that this deal is done. That's all we've got right now. I think we'll get one in. But if they want 40 million, as people are saying, Milinkovic-Savic, I believe, the asking price was 50. Pay the extra 10 and get an even better player. Anthony said, we always get finessed in the transfer market, more so when dealing with other Premier League teams. I think when clubs see Arsenal come in for a player, they go, here they are. Silly Arsenal have turned up to negotiate. Because how on earth do... Number one, we can't get money for most players. Number two, we try and get Arthur. They want a 2-year loan with an obligation to buy him. Liverpool turn up, have him on loan with no option. I'm sure if another club was coming in for Luiz, the deal would get done. We have to find a way of selling players. And I think Aston Villa will be sitting there saying, listen, Arsenal, Partey's injured, El Nenny's injured. They've only got Lokonga and Xhaka. Put the price up. Let's see how high these lot are willing to go. You know what it is, people. That's the way it goes. City don't mess about with their contracts. Always have clever clauses, unlike Arsenal. Listen, when you're getting rid of players, you should have sell-on clauses, especially for younger players. If they go again, then you'll get a good sell-on fee afterwards. Assassin said, Curtis, I'm driving up to Birmingham. I'll be listening in the car. Keep the updates coming, 100%. We will be back on again tonight as well. Let me just message Ben. Let's see where he is. And see how long he's going to be. But yeah, no, I don't believe this 40 million. It can't be true. He's not worth 40 million. Reports have it, Edu entered London Colney with 2 medium-sized speakers blaring the national anthem of Brazil. Crazy. Wouldn't surprise you at Arsenal. 30 mil for Luiz and 20 million for Tielemans. That's a wrap. I mean, yeah, that's the way I would love it to go, but I don't think it will somehow. Um, we're all just waiting to see, has this offer been accepted or not? This is the problem. Nobody is reporting at the moment whether Villa are accepting this offer. That's all we're waiting for. Once we know that, we will definitely know what is going on. No signings, no worry. Miguel Aziz can be introduced to the senior squad. I don't think that's going to be enough. I really don't. Let's get Kante in January. We need somebody now, man. We need somebody now. Mangi said 40 million. Better get Zaha. Yeah, exactly. Get Zaha for 40 M's. Yeah, innit? Arsenal being linked with Douglas Luiz. We'll bring David Luiz back on deadline day. Better pay the 30 million for Tielemans. Listen, all I'm saying, they've got to get someone done. Because we're in a position that we have to strengthen. The fact that Aston Villa have not just rejected it straight away would tell me that there is consideration. You know, Dendonker's having his medical now at Villa. So clearly there should be some willingness to get the deal done. I'm just still checking social media. No updates on that. Another one here. Jack Rosser, is it? Was tweeting, as per David Ornstein, Arsenal have returned with a second bid. Told the bid is for 23 million, but they could go as high as 25 million, as reported earlier. I'm assuming that doesn't include add-ons as well, because we're certainly going to have to, you know, get that up to 30 million to get that deal done for sure. Arsenal need 3 more players, says Lawrence. I think in an ideal world, I would have probably taken 4 players. I would have liked to have seen an attacking right back, a centre midfielder, a striker, and a winger. In an ideal world, I would have taken 4. At this stage, I want 2. In reality, we might get 1. That's probably where we're at right now, people. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. It is a difficult one, but we'll have to see. These clowns better accept it. I hope so. I hope so. Rowan said Luiz is average. Are some of you not happy with that deal? Are some of you thinking, listen, didn't have a great season at Villa, has been on the bench for a few games. He doesn't improve us that much. What's your thoughts on that one, people? Are you happy with that signing if it happens? And at the moment, there's still no guarantees that it even happens, people. So I would take it. Faye said Anthony will spin Tierney on Sunday. Listen, don't you worry about us. Worry about yourselves, yeah? Now, it's going to be a tough game. I've got a preview on Saturday with Saeed, I think around 4 p.m. Saturday afternoon. So make sure you're tuned in for that one. And we'll do maybe a mixed 11 and we'll talk about the game. So make sure you tune in. Should be good fun. Saeed coming on the show on Saturday. Zinni will be here. And he should, hopefully, Zinni should be available for the weekend. We should get Sangare from PSV. Good player. I don't think they want to let him go in this window. Anthony said, Luiz is definitely only slightly above average. Let's have it right. He doesn't even guarantee a first-team place in the Villa squad. Yeah, you're not lying. You're not lying. You know, he was on the bench yesterday. And apparently he hasn't played well so far this season. So, yeah, if we're being totally honest, he's not a massive upgrade on what we've got. What I think is he significantly improves the squad, though. And I think he's a player with a high ceiling. El Neni is at the ceiling of his career. He isn't going to get no better. I think with Douglas Luiz, there's still room for him to get significantly better. That's what kind of gives you a little bit of excitement with that signing. Vegas Gunner said, "Are you the one that nicknamed Edu the Terminator?" No, I can't even take claim for that. I don't know why they call him that, but yeah, he's I don't know. No, I don't know where that one even come from. But big up Vegas Gunner with the super chat. Dylan said, in reality, it's been largely a good window. We got Europa and still signed some Champions League level footballers. If we get a midfielder, I'll be chuffed. Big up, Big City. Yeah, listen. It hasn't been a terrible window, but certainly if we don't sign anyone today, I would say that would add disappointment to it. I think it was clear that we needed a midfielder even before the injuries. So I would like to think I would like to think that we will get a midfielder in, but I hear you on that one. Oregon Gooner said, Luiz to train the lads on corner kicks. Welcome, Dougie. Better than El Nenny. Cheers, Curtis. Yeah, we'll be Dougieing. Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. Everybody love it. Everybody love it. Get him in, man. Get him in. Dougie Luiz, man. Get him in. Better than the Chuckle Brothers, man. Nicholas Jova saw Douglas Luiz score a corner last night and said, yes, please. Yeah, the set piece coach that has been a revelation at Arsenal. Seen the man score from a corner and said, listen, man. Bring him to the carpet. I can work with him for sure. I'm just trying to get an update here on this Douglas Luiz offer. It's gone very quiet, which is that a good thing? Usually means that something's happening in the background because Zaha has gone to Fulham, a player that was linked with Arsenal for a while. The only news we've had so far is that update saying that Villa want 40 million for him, which I sincerely hope is not true. Nottingham Forest have signed another player. Loic Bardet on loan with an option to buy from Rennes. And yeah, nothing else at the moment regarding man like Douglas Luiz. So we'll have to see with that one. Why don't we try ESR in the Partey role? I don't think he's got that. I don't think he's got that, to be honest. I think he plays higher up the pitch. So yeah, I don't think that signing would. I don't think moving ESR to that role would work. I think he's a dribbler. He likes to get the ball higher up the pitch. I don't expect him to play in Thomas Partey's role. That is for sure. Jamrock Gunner said, Big C, Willian to Fulham. Your thoughts? I mean, what can you say about that one, really? It's an interesting one for Fulham. He's been training with them for a couple of weeks. And, yeah, man, it's there's not a lot to say. He might do all right at a lower club. But he's certainly not, obviously, Arsenal level. He had a nightmare when he played for us. Panic buy mode incoming. Pask said a full-day stream. When you join in Sky Sports, I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I still speak to a couple of people from Sky, so they know where I'm at. They know where I'm at. Roman said he didn't celebrate the goal against us. City get 20% of the Douglas fee. Yeah, that's probably a reason why they're asking for more money, because they know if he goes, automatically, if it's a 20% sell-on, 30 million gets them 24 million. You know, 40 million would probably get them, 32? Sangare deal is off. Nothing happening. Chelsea were interested in him, but looks as if that one's not going to happen either. So it's a waiting game at the moment, folks, in terms of Douglas Luiz. And he's trending on social media. Right, let's see what Ben Jacobs has said. He's just replied. Oh, he's ready. He's backstage. There we go. Let's get him on. No, he's not showing up. No, he said, I'm just entering backstage. There we go. So he should be on in the next minute or two, hopefully. I'll send the right link. Why not Tielemans? Nah, listen, I just don't think we're genuinely that interested in Yuri Tielemans. I don't know why. I've got no idea why we haven't gone for him, to be honest. I think we should have brought him in. 25 million. But they just don't seem interested in doing it. And it looks like he's going to be stuck there. So we'll have to see. Arsenal analyst said, thanks for the stream, Curtis. Big up the chat. Yeah, big up the chat. Patiently waiting. Still over 5,300 of you in there. So really appreciate you joining. He said he's trying to click in. It's not letting him join. I can't see you. So hopefully he'll sort that out backstage. Fabio Vieira can play in that Partey role. Should be the same. Watch Newcastle sign Tielemans at the last minute. I know they are trying to... they're looking at him as well. Surely Tielemans wouldn't go to Newcastle. Ben White can play DM. And yeah, listen, he's not the answer for me, Ben White, at DM. Just give me a second, folks. I don't know what's going on here. He said he's clicked. Not showing up. Why is that not working? I don't get that. Invite. Copy to clipboard. Sorry, apologies, folks. He's trying to get in to the stream. For some reason, it won't let him. Right, let's see how he gets on. I've sent him the link, so I don't know if the link wasn't working, but there we go. Should be in shortly. Just heard from a mate who plays at Villa that Luiz is leaving. I hope you're right. I hope you are right. Bring back Lacazette as a DM. Nah, we don't want Lacazette back at the club, I'll tell you that much. Why is this not letting him join for some reason? It's not letting him... Let me try this again. Invite a guest. Copy. Let's see. Right. Right, let's see if he can get in, people. Ben White playing as a DM is sticking a plaster, not ideal. Totally agree with that. Big C, close your eyes and imagine we went from Mustafi and Kolasinac to Gabriel and Saliba. What a journey. We can't be compared. Just think about the defences that we actually had, people, and how bad they were, and how we've made progress. But we still need to make more progress. And here we go. Ben's in. Managed to get in. Let me add him and we'll question him. Appreciate him coming on. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Busy time. Sorry I'm late. You know, by this stage in the window, everything just becomes later and later and later. So I'm about 6 hours behind today, including 6 hours behind on breakfast and 6 hours behind on lunch and an hour late for you. So I apologize, but it's good to be here.
Nah, no problem, Ben. Appreciate you giving up your time. I know it's a massively busy day for you. I'll get straight into it because I don't want to take up too much of your time. Obviously, from an Arsenal point of view, we know I spoke to you last time. You're a big Leicester fan. What is happening with Youri Tielemans? I mean, I'm reading that he sold his house. He's staying in a hotel. Newcastle linked with him. We're linked with him. Where do you think he will be by 11 o'clock tonight?
Well, I don't even think Tielemans knows at the moment. And that's the challenge when you've got a year left on your contract. And he probably thought that the Arsenal move was 75, if not 80% definite in January. But things change, don't they? And Arsenal very much like Tielemans, but they haven't made a bid at the moment. So 3 Premier League clubs have made inquiries in the last week. Arsenal are one of them, and then Newcastle and Liverpool, as I understand it. And from the perspective of Leicester, they started the window for sure wanting a Tielemans fee, but they sold Wesley Fofana for a massive amount of money. And as a consequence, they no longer need that fee. And by not needing that fee, they can hold out for the 35 odd million all in that they would like for Youri Tielemans. And then from Arsenal's perspective, they've got some defensive woes slightly deeper in midfield. And as a consequence, they're prioritizing trying to get different players in at the moment. So I actually think that Tielemans might end up staying at Leicester now. That's my understanding. It's not something that Tielemans anticipated. And then from Arsenal's point of view, they could say, let's try in January or get you on a free in a year's time. But contrary to some reports, Arsenal have not placed any kind of formal or informal offer for Youri Tielemans in the last 24 hours, which means that if they are going to move, it will now be a surprise because having looked at Tielemans, agreed terms with Tielemans, allocated Tielemans as a possible solution in January, to leave it this late now would be either a tactic to get a price probably under 25, if not 20 million, or complete U-turn based upon other targets. So I think that Arsenal and Tielemans is over for this window now. I think that Newcastle and Tielemans, in terms of a late bid, might still be one to watch. I think that Liverpool have brought in Melo and they again never bid. So their interest is probably over. So Youri Tielemans, amazingly, surprisingly, if you'd have asked me this 2 months ago, I'd have never foreseen this scenario. Tielemans has not yet had a concrete offer. And as things stand, he will stay at Leicester.
That's pretty unbelievable. In a market that really lacks value, to get a Tielemans for maybe 30 million, you would have thought there'd be clubs queuing up to sign him. So really interesting there. The main one, obviously, that's, ringing bells for Arsenal at the moment is Douglas Luiz from Villa. We have been linked with him in the past, but it kind of went quiet. And they're reporting that we've made this second offer for him. I haven't seen any reports whether this offer's been accepted or not. Do you know too much about it? Seems like the player wants to come, but Villa are making it a little bit difficult.
Yeah, in the last hour or so, Arsenal have made a second bid. You're absolutely right that he wants the move, and that can be quite helpful. But the downside is we're so late in the window at the moment that player power doesn't do as much as you think. So it's not like a Fofana Chelsea scenario where you've got a month or so to really drive the move. It's a matter of hours, and players have to be very careful, because if they try and force anything too aggressively and with acrimony, then they might end up staying at the football club that they started the window at. And then suddenly it becomes a case of, does the manager think their head is right? Brendan Rodgers actually summed it up really well with Fofana. He said some players just move on and they like the calmness, and others see a dream move and the door shut, and then their head is in the same place again. So that's interesting, because every player is different. And when managers input as to whether they want a sale done, even though the board have the final decision, if they feel that by keeping a player, they're not getting the same player, then that tends to provoke a move. And it happened with Fofana. I don't see that scenario, though, with Douglas Luiz. So from Arsenal's point of view, it's less about getting player buy-in, even though he does want the move, and more about hitting a number that gets a bid accepted. At the moment, Villa are negotiating very toughly. They're making sure that time ticks away, and then they're seeing whether Arsenal just keep on coming. The first bid was around about 20 million and was turned down pretty quickly without that much discussion. The second bid, that I believe at the time we're recording anyway is active, is 23.5 million. And we wait and see whether that's enough. I think that it's going to take, come what may, even if Arsenal grow in confidence, 25 million. So I'd be surprised whether this bid gets it done. It also depends on things like add-ons and how gettable they are. But I think from Villa's perspective, they're not going to entertain too much unless it's around the 25 million mark. And that will test this resolve. Their stance is they do not want to sell. The player's stance is that he wants to join. And this late in the window, the indication from Arsenal's point of view that they're growing in confidence is the return bid, because you've not got time to waste a day or a week or a month trying to get the best possible deal. You've got a number in your head if you are the buyer late in a window, and you've got to get to that quite quickly if you have a series of rejections beforehand, and there needs to be quite fast verbal back and forth. Otherwise, you're simply wasting your time. So that's good news for fans, because we don't get this dilly-dallying, this conflicting reporting that's probably driven you nuts throughout the entire window. Arsenal have a number. They're going to have to get to that number very quickly. And then if Aston Villa reject, they'll walk away. So this is active. The second bid has gone in. It's about 23.5 million, as I understand it. And we wait and see. There's still enough hours left to get this deal done, but it really will all hinge on Aston Villa and whether or not they are genuinely prepared to sell.
I mean, just quickly, just to ask a little bit more on that. I mean, Villa, of course, it says are on the verge of Dendoncker from Wolves. And I've also seen a report, I don't know how true it is, that there's a 20% sell-on clause to Manchester City for anything above 15 million. I don't know how true that is. Have you heard anything about a potential sell-on clause?
I've certainly seen that out there. It's not something that I've verified personally. It wouldn't surprise me either. But what we do know is that Villa have had their offer accepted by Wolves. So Dendoncker is looking very likely. I believe that the fee is somewhere in the region of 15 million all in. And there's no reason why they won't get that over the line. And if they do, then let's see whether that has an impact in terms of Aston Villa's position with Luiz and whether they're prepared to let him go. And Arsenal may well be hinging upon that. And this is, again, tactical, because if you're Aston Villa, your primary concern when you don't want to lose a player is incomings. So you will string any outgoings along if you feel that they're linked in any way. until you've got your own business done, which is why that from the perspective of Douglas Luiz, Arsenal might have to wait a little bit later, right up until potentially the 11 o'clock deadline this evening to find out exactly where they stand. But I have been told by a Villa source, which you'd expect them to say at this point, that Dendoncker is just one deal. And then Douglas Luiz remains, in their eyes, in an ideal world, not for sale. There's clearly a number that might be able to change that. And let's see whether Arsenal get to it over the course of the next few hours.
I appreciate the insight, and listen, it's so frustrating because you just think Arsenal put the money on the table, get it done. Well, I know it doesn't work as simply as that, but I think it would be a good addition for Arsenal at this stage anyway. But yeah, it's frustrating. I did see you you tweeted about the boy, is it Mudryk, the other day. I was actually joking about one of the videos that you'd put up because when he was taking, when he passed that penalty. And it was in a car park, and I was like, "Oh, we're signing a guy from Asda's car park. I've never even heard of him." But that deal seemed to disappear. Why do you think Arsenal seem to be tracking all these wingers, Mudryk, Neto, Zaha? All of a sudden, they've all disappeared, and we just want a midfielder. Do you think we're only looking for one player today, or are we still looking maybe for a winger?
Well, it has to be right, doesn't it, from Arsenal's perspective, especially given the start to the season they've had. And that's the beauty, really. I think sometimes fans just want action for the sake of action to close a window. Like somehow there's a physical deadline, and where within the window are the milestones? Well, day one when it opens, day one when you return to pre-season, and then day one when you start your season. And then somehow creeping into all of the fan perception, particularly on social media, is we got to do business at the end of a window. And you have why. And Arsenal have got such great chemistry and energy and momentum at the moment that Mikel Arteta doesn't need to really buy for the sake of it. Now, you could argue a bit more depth, especially because European football comes thick and fast, and then there's a World Cup in the mid-season. But by the same token, after the World Cup, there's another window that's open. So there's a variety of different ways of looking at it. But there's absolutely no doubt that from Arsenal's perspective, they want midfielder, winger in a perfect world. But if they don't find the targets this window, I don't think they're that fussed. And naturally, midfield, and particularly deeper lying midfielders, defensive midfielders, traditional central midfielders, have become more important and pertinent via circumstance, Partey, El Neni, and so on, rather than a Tielemans attack-minded midfielder. And the other thing is that Arteta's all about versatility anyway. So if he could have found a wide player that can cut inside, if he could find an attacking midfielder that can go out into wider areas, that is all of appeal as well. And that's where Mikel Mudryk comes into the mix. Not because, by the way, Arsenal ever made a bid. And that's the key point of differentiation anyway between my reporting and some others, that you had Everton, who made a rejected bid, 30 million euros. Minimum Shakhtar want is 35 million with very preferable add-ons, and they might even want 40 million euros. And then Brentford are in the mix. And then Arsenal made an inquiry, and they did that a while back, and they went via the agent. And naturally, like any football club, there's intermediaries on books that can value players. And the initial valuation, which doesn't mean a bid, by the way, it's a valuation, saw the two clubs about £10 million, not euros, apart. And Arsenal, as I understand it, haven't moved since then. So this might be one to watch in future windows. But the reason why you sometimes hear about it is obviously late window agent talk and clubs putting things out there. And the other reason why is because sometimes as a football club, you do due diligence on a player, and you even value a player to take to another deal. And that's a really key part of the window that never really gets reported, that if I want player A, I might go to player B, who is like for like in age or skill set, value. So then when I'm negotiating with the player I actually want, I can then say to the selling club, I've got another option. And then in the press, they suddenly see a link and they're like, yikes, Mudryk's the other option, and they can get him for 35 million, even if that's not true. And that's again part of the gamesmanship and how sometimes the media is used. So don't read too much into Mudryk. It's not happening as far as late in this window is concerned. But the reason why he is genuinely of appeal to Arteta, and they'll track him and they might move in a January or next summer, is because they are of the belief that he has the ability to play on both channels. And that is very important. And I think that what Arteta's looking for in a player is somebody who can transition to both sides, different formations, and is
Yeah.
comfortable with both feet. So even though he traditionally only plays on one side, that's not to say that he can't move to the other side. And in game management situations, that's really important. And then just briefly, in terms of some of the other names that have been mentioned, whether wingers or otherwise, there's nothing really in the Asensio links other than he would be available for the right club. Danilo, both Palmeiras and Arsenal are distancing themselves from that one as well. So it looks to me like Arsenal are not going to move for the sake of it. They're going to move either because they have to due to injuries or because they add somebody that right now, where the team is at after this starts of the season, after pre-season, after Zinchenko, after Gabriel Jesus and so on, after all of that and them clicking, particularly Jesus, obviously, and then you look away from the attack-minded stuff, the fact that Saliba's come back and is loved and has hit the ground running. And so on. When you combine everything, Arsenal have got what they need. So there's no desire, I don't think, from Edu or Arteta to panic buy late in the window just to make everyone say, great, it's another name for the draw. If the right opportunity materializes, they'll add it to their squad. And if not, they'll continue the momentum on the field. They've already had a fantastic transfer window, and then they'll see what they need based on how the season goes in January. And if 0 names come in, I think Arsenal have got enough.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Me, maybe as the Arsenal fan, I'm thinking, no, there's not quite enough. Do you know what it is? I think with deadline day, Ben, it's almost like a party and you want to be invited to it. So when you see like, oh, they've signed someone, you're like, we need to sign someone. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how deadline day goes. But
I think, by the way, they do need that deep lying midfielder, though, out of necessity. So I think that's where Luiz comes in. And no wonder Arsenal are pushing. And I think that the change in how they're approaching deadline day is based out of necessity rather than only strategy. So we'll never know with, say, Tielemans. If they sign him one day, we might find out they were about to sign him on deadline day and they had to pivot because he doesn't offer too many defensive qualities within the centre of the park. He can be developed into a more rigid role, but definitely not what Arsenal need at this exact time. So let's see. There's always a surprise. The funniest story that I've seen so far in terms of a surprise, by the way, is my team and Marcelo to Leicester. I don't think there's anything in it. I don't know exactly where it's come from because I've been on calls and doing other things, but purely as a fan, not as a journalist, it just made me chuckle. And if they were to somehow pull that off, then that will be one of the stories of deadline day. But I did put in a couple of texts, and Leicester are sort of pouring cold water on it at the moment.
Just briefly, while I got you here, just wanted to ask you about some of the other clubs. Obviously, Aubameyang to Chelsea, been a bit of a long saga. Looks like that one's going to get done. And what's your take on that? Do you think that this robbery pushed him to leave, or is it coincidence that it just happened right at the end of the window?
Well, I think that Chelsea have been chasing Aubameyang for quite a while. They definitely wanted that particular deal done earlier, but it was all in Barcelona's control. There were 2 offers on the table, 1 straight cash, 1 cash plus Marcus Alonso, and Barcelona have oscillated throughout really the last 2.5, 3 weeks as to whether they wanted Alonso or not. And they finally decided that they do want Alonso. And this has really pivoted in a number of directions. It was basically close in a straight cash deal. It was basically close in a swap deal. And then there was a withdrawal of the offer for tactical reasons. And then Barcelona realized that they could register Alonso and make that work. And now we're back to where we started, which was always a very close swap deal. And Todd Bowley's been intent on doing swap deals, and it's good business all round in many respects because Alonso's always wanted Barcelona, and Aubameyang is going to be well compensated. He's going to get a 2-year deal with a 1-year option to extend, which is his preference. Chelsea wanted a shorter contract originally. So this has been on the cards for a while. And because of Tuchel's relationship with Aubameyang, he knows what he's inheriting. So if it was a manager that hadn't worked with Aubameyang in the Premier League, you might look at how he exited Arsenal and start to question if it's a right fit, especially when he's a 33-year-old. And unfortunately, after that horrific attack, and we hope him and his family are okay, he's got a broken jaw as well. But all that's been factored into the deal and the negotiation. And I just think it's what Chelsea need there. Lacking a bit of cutting edge. They're struggling for goals despite Sterling arriving. Havertz isn't really doing too much business leading the line. Pulisic isn't playing that much and has been out of form. Ziyech has been pushing to go to Ajax. Broja is very young and hasn't had that much game time, but he did pretty well on loan at Southampton. So Aubameyang is goals. He's experience. I don't think he'll come because he's been in this position at Barcelona in his short time there with any ego like maybe a Ronaldo would, about wanting to play all the big games, about wanting to be the focal point. So it's added value, it's added goals, and it's not a great deal of money from Chelsea's perspective. So it feels very low risk with high reward to me. I think it's a good bit of business from Chelsea's point of view.
And there's this report going around at the moment about Memphis Depay. And by the way, congratulations, you did a great interview with Juan Laporta and at Barcelona. It was a really good interview. That Memphis Depay's had this offer from a Premier League club. I mean, well, I'm just clutching as an Arsenal fan, but a lot of people saying maybe Chelsea, Man United. Have you had any indications who that might be?
People, I think, are constantly talking about Premier League clubs. And the reason for that is because it's the Barca briefing machine. And I know this firsthand. So, of course, they're talking about interest and drumming it up. And they're having so many concurrent conversations that Depay comes up. But let's be really clear here. As of 5 p.m., hours before the window shuts, there is nobody, Premier League or otherwise, currently in advanced talks with Depay. And if there was a Premier League club that he was mentioned to, it will have been Chelsea, simply because they were in ongoing talks about different deals and structures and players. But I don't think that Chelsea have a huge interest in Depay. Now, if another target falls through, then there is always that chance that late in the window, you go to your plan B. But as of now, clubs are still, even though it sounds a bit farcical because we've only got a few hours left, as of, I think, until 8 p.m. UK time, clubs are focusing if they've got multiple options on their plan A's. If they then give up, they got a few hours to try their luck. And sometimes what you can do is you can line up a backup. You can know that it only takes one call to get a loan or a deal off the ground. But Memphis Depay at 5 p.m. on a Thursday, on deadline day, is no closer to joining anybody.
Oh, but listen, that's what we want, the insight. Just briefly, because I'm going to round up. I know you're very busy. I've always been banging the drum, get Wilfried Zaha to Arsenal. Massive fan, 1 year on his deal. There have been a few links, nothing really too strong. Is anybody looking at him? He seems to be playing the best football of his career at the moment. Is there anything with Zaha?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's plenty of interest in Zaha, that's for sure. But Crystal Palace simply don't want to sell. So he's been an option for Chelsea. I know Arsenal have been linked, but my understanding is that nothing was ever advanced, and he's never been in the final hours of the window, even if they had the ability to move a particular Arsenal priority, certainly not compared to other names. And that might be down to the fact that he's 29, which doesn't sound that old, but Arsenal have got a set strategy, and whether or not Zaha fits into that from a recruitment perspective remains to be seen. From a football perspective, I think he'd be a decent fit in the system, and exactly the same for Chelsea. Chelsea are the ones, though, that are pushing. Chelsea are the ones that Zaha would move to. And why not? Because again, at 29 years of age, in the form of his life, like you say, played for, scored for, 14 Premier League goals last season. When's he going to get a big move? When's he going to get that opportunity in the current state of his career for a next step to go and be on probably bigger money with respect to Crystal Palace? And then in addition to that, have that option of playing some Champions League football. And I think that that will all be within Zaha's mindset, because he was obviously at Manchester United 2013-14, 2014-15. He only played a couple of games, but he would have tasted from his time at Manchester United that big club mentality. And when he left for Cardiff on loan and then Crystal Palace, he's probably thinking to himself, can I go from Man U to Palace? And then if I score goals, is there a route back somewhere to be regular in European football, to be at a big club, to be on that big money? And I think Manchester United would have taken him at some point between 2015 when he left and again, because the goals have always been there, certainly since 2016, 2017, I think when he scored 7 goals. Since that season onwards, he's been in double figures, I think for 3 in 5 of those seasons, and red hot last season with 14 Premier League goals, and he's continuing that now. So Chelsea's interest was real, I say past tense, and Arsenal were only vaguely on the radar without really doing anything about it. And the reason for that is simply because we're so late in the window and Crystal Palace have made it absolutely clear that they don't want to sell. And the only way you might twist Palace's arm in these final few hours is if, in return, Conor Gallagher was able to permanently go the other way, and Chelsea don't want to move on that. So it's just gridlock. And although Zaha's head has been turned, I don't really think that he is being aggressive about it. I think he's got a lot of respect for the confidence and the belief that Crystal Palace have shown in him since when he first joined in 2014. So it's still one to watch, because someone could just put an astronomical offer down, but I don't see that club being Arsenal.
I'm just going to round up because I know you're very busy and I appreciate you giving up your time. In terms of Arsenal, because that's what most people are here for, do you think it's possible that Arsenal could buy 2 players, or do you think that's pretty much out the window? Do you think we could sign a winger and a midfielder, or do you think it's too late in the day for that?
I mean, you can never say never with Edu, because they work secretively at times. So there can be a surprise deal like we saw with Vieira. Then media have to hold their hands up then and say, we didn't know about it. I didn't know about Vieira until hours before. And even then it was whispers, and suddenly he's announced. And this is the reality, that as a journalist, you get your information from your sporting director contacts, from your player contacts, from the buyer and from the seller. So if a sporting director with a specific transfer works secretively, and by the way, Arsenal are not always secretive. They're sometimes very open about talking about things, about explaining things, about giving a realization of why they failed even at times. Vlahovic, Rafinha being just 2 examples. But when you have Premier League to Premier League, or when you have either buyer or seller that are a bit more open, you can stand up far more. And a good example of that is Melo. We all knew about it, but why? Not because Liverpool are loose-tongued, but because Juventus are a club that often speak and talk about a transfer when it's still ongoing. So we knew he was on a plane. We knew it's a season-long loan. But Liverpool are still there doing their thing. And at times, Edu is exactly the same. So absolutely, we know for sure, in a perfect world, that Arsenal would bring in some form of midfielder. The type of midfielder might have changed, and a winger. But are they going to get both? Well, time is ticking away. So if I was a betting man, I would say 1 or 0 for Arsenal between now and when the window shuts, with the 1 and their priority being Luiz at this particular point in time. But could a mystery winger, as Arsenal fans and again, I'm not putting myself down here, but people calling it a mystery winger as journalists are basically saying I haven't got the foggiest who it is, which is why I don't look at it as a mystery winger. It's different that way. If Edu comes to me and says, I'm trying to sign a winger, I'm definitely going to sign a winger, but I can't tell you who it is. And with no disrespect to any colleagues, if that's what's been said to them and then they report it in that way, then fair play. But if people are just saying Arsenal might sign a winger and we don't know who it is, then that probably tells you that even Arsenal don't know who that winger is, and they're not going to bring in a winger between now and when the window's shut. So it just depends how it's packaged. But I've said from day one, talking to you and others, I don't like to clickbait it. And I think because I don't work in a manner as a broadcaster where I need a written headline, I would never say Arsenal might bring in a mystery winger late on. But what I will say is that midfield is the priority, and it is very possible they get 1 and a midfielder. If a mystery winger, if we are to term it, that comes in, then I personally don't know about it. And if one signs, I'll hold my hands up and say that, because you can't always, as a journalist, be the type of person that says I know everything about every club, in every position, in every area. Sometimes often sporting directors and clubs get one over you with a bit of last minute secret business. So if that happens, let's see. It's not impossible, because we know it's an area where Arsenal would ideally like to strengthen. But I think that if I was to put £5 on a late window Arsenal number, I would say it's 1 or 0. And if it's 1, it's going to be a midfielder.
In terms of Douglas Luiz, then, if you had to put that same £5 down, Because the thing that's strange to me, if Arsenal offered 20, why come back with 23.5 unless you thought that was getting close to what they wanted? Do you think Douglas Luiz ends up at Arsenal by 11 o'clock?
Well, the good news is the player wants the move, and Arsenal have made a second bid. And if they've only increased their first bid by, let's say, 3.5 million or so, then that tells you that they believe they're quite close to a number that might provoke a sale. And let's see whether the Dendoncker incoming, which is basically 100%, influences that. But it's not about why don't they just put the money down. It's about the finesse of negotiation. And if you end up just putting money down for the sake of it, if you end up spending above market value for a player that you're not that fussed on potentially, then you're setting a bad precedent for how you negotiate. So Arsenal are doing everything they can, and Arsenal feel like they're in a strong position here, because if Dendoncker's already done, then all the rest of the time in the window is about them trying to get a deal done. And whether they get it done at 5 o'clock or 10:59 doesn't make the blindest bit of difference. And if they're prepared to move away, then it also doesn't make the blindest bit of difference. So why would they, and this is a fan misconception, put down a number that's being widely reported in the media just for the hell of it to get a deal done? One, you don't know whether that number is accurate. So Arsenal might be trying lower, feeling like they've got a 100% chance of success. And two, that's just not how negotiation works. You don't tend in a matter of hours to jump from 19 million to 21 million to 23.5 million or whatever, because then you're the club that just goes up in incrementals. And there's a danger with Chelsea that they get branded like that because they've had a bit of a habit of betting 5 million more, betting 10 million more. So I don't think it's quite as simple as just why are Arsenal not hitting a number? Why can't they get it done? And I stress again to fans, I empathize with you. I appreciate there's a lot of conflicting information out there. And I also know how frustrating it is when you just want to know what is going on. But it's a business transaction. So there's always going to be an element of secrecy. And if there is one day where you can be patient, where you can relax, where you don't need to be angry, angsty, frustrated, whatever the adjective is that describes whatever kind of fan you are, today's the day. Because 5 o'clock now, the window closes at 11 o'clock. Anything that is registered paperwork wise at 10:59, you might have to wait until 1 a.m. to find out. But moaning now at 5, when you might, you're definitely going to find out by, say, 1 a.m. this morning. There's your clarity. So just relax, take a step back, enjoy the madness, enjoy the chaos, see what Arsenal do. And then if they do nothing and you think they should have done something, then tomorrow morning you can have your rant and get angry. But so many fans get angry to me at 5:12 now because their club hasn't signed, let's say from Chelsea's point of view, Aubameyang. Why isn't it done? Why isn't it done? And it's like, well, it is done now. So all of that anger was just you raising the blood pressure for no apparent reason. So if there's one day when you actually can wait and see, despite the chaos and despite the drama, ironically, it is just transfer deadline day. Take a breath back and judge your side at 11 p.m. or 1 a.m. when the dust settles. There's no need to get that annoyed and angry at 5:12 p.m. on the day the window closes.
Oh, Ben, do you know what, mate? I might just go for a walk after this. You've calmed me down with them comments. And you know what, Ben? On behalf of all of us, I need one favour from you. I need you to beat Man United tonight. You're a Leicester fan. Turn Man United over. That will cheer all of us up even more.
We will do our best. We will do our best. Hey, Yuri Tielemans might even start and score the winner. Let's see.
Yuri Tielemans. Listen, Ben, really appreciate you coming on. Been brilliant. And hope you enjoy the rest of your window. I'm going to try and calm down, like you said.
Yeah, take a breather, have a glass of water. All the best to all the Arsenal fans. Let's hope you have the window you're looking for. And congratulations on a really impressive start to the season.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on, Ben.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. We'll talk soon. Big up to Ben. Man came on, let off the whole clip on Fabrizio, and then even gave me a little, listen, man, relax, calm down. Big up to Ben. Really appreciate that. Brett said, don't tell me to calm down. I was going to say, you don't know what we've been through, mate. Do you know what I mean? As Gooners. But listen, no, I appreciate it. People, I'm going to round up because I've got a few things to do. I will be back on later tonight. The window closes at 11. So probably go live about... about 9:30. We'll go live about 9:30. Still over 5,000 of you in the chat. Don't forget, One Football, not One Football. I'm having a mirror. It's one of them days. Footballprizes.co.uk. £9.95 to get yourself a ticket. with a chance of winning 2 hospitality tickets for Arsenal versus PSV next Thursday at club level at the Emirates. Should be a good game. Cody Gakpo and all of that good stuff, people. Big up to all of you for tuning in. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you at 9:30. And as Ben said, mate, I'm going to calm down and go for a walk. And Kevin Campbell's on Sky Sports as well. So I'll see you all at 9:30. Hopefully Douglas Luiz will be done by then. Bless.